Hello everyone, in our first video we'll be looking over Google Chrome basics that will enhance the way you navigate the Google Chrome browser and ultimately save time. Google Chrome allows us to do more with less. We're going to be able to speed up the way we navigate through the browser, enhance the way we create stuff, research stuff, and organize information in our tabs and windows. And these are really easy ways to change old habits and create new ones. And it can really shape your daily computing experience, and it'll really encourage people to understand the value of shortcuts and how those shortcuts can really align with your personal goals or projects, research, so on and so forth. So we traditionally use our mouse for most of our navigation, and the goal today is to sort of stray away from that a little bit, and we want to gain back time that we lose by having to click everywhere. And really, we're really going to just be using our left hand on the keys as we move around. And that's going to really allow us to use keyboard shortcuts, speed up the way that you can actually find information, click through information, and organize it in a way that is valuable to you. And this is done through Google Chrome because it's free. Keyboard shortcuts should be roughly the same across both Windows and Apple devices, mostly the Control and Alt key. The Mac equivalent to a Control key is just a Command key. And the reason why we want to save time here is we want to create small habits and reap huge rewards through the way that we can synthesize information, engage in critical thinking differently than what we're used to, and to organize information so that you know exactly where everything is and so you don't have a hard time looking for it. Just a reminder, the keyboard serves a broader purpose beyond just typing. Buttons can really transform the usability of how everything happens on your screen, and these keyboard commands are really going to sort of brief introduction to how these keylines can stretch across other aspects of your computing world and life. Keyboard shortcuts are usable with almost any program, and also the ability to use the right click. Most people don't think of using it. In the Mac world, it's going to be a control click, a command click. On the Google Chrome browser, I think this seems very basic, but all of these things enable us to do things very fast and efficient. Beyond just doing this on the home screen, I'll be showing you how it can be valuable across tabs and when you're synthesizing information on the internet. Remember that keyboard shortcuts complement regular typing mechanics, and this is really going to be the case with just using and clicking around to do your information. We're going to be looking at very basic navigation stuff. We're going to be using the Control key, the Alt key, the right click on your mouse, and we're going to be learning about tabs in Windows. So I've pulled up a incognito browser, and the way you can trigger an incognito browser is clicking right click on your Google Chrome. You go to New Incognito. So let's start with a very, very easy example. As we wind up 2021, NFTs have kind of taken over the digital world, and so pretty fitting to run through this process. Alright, places are running ads as the first search result for this Google question. Let's kind of scan past the ads. Okay, this is going to be standard. So let's scroll through, and alright, well, that was a relatively short article. We didn't get the answer we wanted. Remember, this is just an example, and I'm trying to run through a scenario in which you are doing something like this, where you're asking a question on Google. So let's go back. So I'm going to go look for another result. November 18th. Okay. So notice how all the ads pop up first before you even get to the answer. Okay, I mean, this is going to have some more information than our previous article. It's easier to digest. It's easier to read because there's so much more space between each sentence. But let's go back because I'm still want to get some more perspective on what this is. Before that, look how much clicking I had to do just to get to those websites. I was like, does this seem interesting? Okay, let me scroll, get past all this ad space, and look through everything. So let's say I wanted to compare across my previous search result that I looked at with. I gotta go back to the tab, find it, click open again, and sort of come back to what I was looking at. Okay, well, now that I've seen these other 4 pages, this to me doesn't really seem as helpful of information as my other sources. You know, maybe this isn't really the question that we want to ask. Maybe we were curious about a specific one that we've heard. Let's say So let's open a new tab. Heard about NFTs through Bitcoin. Actually, we want to know what ETH is. So I want to keep my search results from the previous search because maybe I find some similarities, maybe there's some connections that I want to make. Oh, look at that. Anyway, so we opened a new tab by clicking on this plus button. Pretty simple. And that enables us to start a blank canvas. And a blank canvas is very helpful in trying to sort of refresh topics or switch between search references. Another way to do this, and this is going to be our first key command, is using the Control Command T. And Control T, Command T is going to replicate the same process as this plus button. So Control T, and that's how we also do the same thing as this plus button. Now you know two ways in which you can start a new tab so that you don't have to keep using the same tab to do all your research. And you can sort of add layers to what you're looking at. Because I've shown you how to add new tabs through the Command T, Control T function on Google Chrome, let me show you how to do the opposite. So to delete a tab. So you can right click on the tab and you can close. And notice how when I right click, there's a lot of these other options that we can do: reload, duplicate, pin, mute, close other tabs. But notice on the far right side you get a Control R, and so it tells you what key command you need to do to reload a page. And so with a close, Control W, so Command W on Mac, so we can easily close it. Oh, and let's say we accidentally close one of our result tabs. So oops, I accidentally deleted that tab. To reverse that process instantly, so let's say you accidentally close this tab, and I just want to clarify that you have to be in a normal Google Chrome window instead of an incognito window. So the way to draw back that tab you just closed, you want to do Control-Shift-T. So instead of just Control-T, you're adding the Shift command simultaneously with the Control or Command tab, and you're clicking T. Delete the ETH, Control-Shift-T, boom, Control-T, Control-W, Control-W, Control-Shift-T, Control-Command-T on Mac. Anytime you've accidentally deleted something, Control-Shift-T will bring you back immediately. You can always go to the history of your browser, and you can go to your most recent tabs that you closed, because Google will always have that ready to go. That's going to be Control-H, Command-H. When you click on it, it'll just go back to where you just were. So now that we've sort of introduced the idea behind a control key, we're going to build on that. Instead of having to scroll through the main screen of a Google search result and clicking on it one by one, your whole tab is replaced by the search result, like so. We want to be able to open multiple at once. Let's say we want to open all four of these. Control, just the control key, and we want to click on it like we normally do. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. And I think for Mac it'd be the Command key. You just hold the Control or Command key, and you click on it as you normally would. Now check out what happened. So we have 4 tabs which reflect all 4 of those links that we've immediately clicked on and opened into a new tab. So obviously these charts are identical. Close it or do Control W. Now we can look at all these articles, get a pretty quick overview. I'm just running it as an example. And we still have the search results that we started with. Let's say you just get deep into it and you have 7 tabs open. And we did that really quickly by clicking just 7 times with the control key, just holding down the control key. Now I can actually sort of focus in on what I'm actually looking for. And maybe this is where you're trying to extract information for research or for yourself or whatever. So looking back at your initial search, you can see how much time and effort you could be wasting by staying on this one tab. Some of the content is just duplicate content. You're not actually getting a whole lot from some of these. And so, maybe you delete a few. You want to find what you feel like are reliable sources. So now you want to compare and contrast some of this content. You don't want to just look at it one at a time sometimes, and you want to be able to see both tabs open at the same time next to each other. So this time around, let's create a new window. Your browser window is like a file cabinet, and your browser tabs are like individual file folders. Similar to the way that we created a new tab. Remember, Control T was our command T for Mac users. and we want to create a new window, we hold the control key again, and while we're holding the control or command key, we click on the N key. Boom. N standing for new, so when you do control N, you get a new window. And let's say we made a few on accident, control W, boom, that's going to close the window. We made 2 windows, now they're gone. And while we're at it, since we started as an incognito window, if you hold the control and shift button and do N, you get a new window that's an incog. And that's just by clicking the control and shift button together. So control shift N. Let's say you want to look at content next to each other, and you want to put 2 windows side by side so that you can digest this content together. So what I'm going to do first to sort of gauge how I want to place content is by grabbing the top ribbon here, clicking on it with my left click, and dragging it. And now that I'm dragging it and spinning it around on the screen, I can see the other window with all the tabs that I want to sort of look at across next to each other. And now this is minimized just because I've held and dragged it with my left click. So now I want to transfer these tabs over into this window. Let's say I want to read this one. It's the same thing. Click on the tab and drag it to the center of the screen. It becomes its own window, and when you click it to the center of it, it's going to open up big like that. So now that we know how to move it and minimize it and create a new incog, let's just do it again. Control Shift N, grab it by the ribbon, hold, drag. Now let's move this side by side. Click and hold this window. Hit it against the side of this window so this square pops up. I think for both Windows and Mac, this should be the case as this is a Chrome feature. Hit it back, and once you get that screen, that square, you can see this little outline that's going to pop up as when you release the left click. Remember, I'm still holding onto the left click, tapping it against the side here. Initiate that shape. Boom. I want to go to the window in which I had my search results. Is this one? I want to click on that. Boom. So now you have 2 windows next to each other. You're maximizing the space on your screen because everything is taken up, and you can scroll here and use this window. So let's say we want to compare and contrast these 2 tabs. Now what we want to do is click on the tab, drag it, so you can see how dragging left and right moves the tabs. The moment you drag it down, it comes out of this window, and then what you can do is drag it over, and when it appears in the other window, it'll set. So now you can have this tab and this other tab that you can digest together. So maybe we don't need this, so we can cross that out. Okay, and let's say we want to do it the same with that tab. Click on the tab, shaking it left and right, it's going to show you're able to maneuver it. And remember, you want to click on it once and hold the mouse click button down so that you can enable this feature. And remember, when you're able to do this, you're able to drag it down. It's going to pop into its new window, but you want to hover it over so that it shows up in that browser and is inserted. And once you see this, you can let go. Now you have 3 tabs in each window, and you can sort of enhance the way that you digest information. A lot of times we try to use these arrows that appear on the edge of these browsers, and we can also do that here. So notice how there's no space between these windows, and boom. So this is how you're able to enlarge or shrink the window in case you want to sort of view more of the page or less of the page. And that's, remember, clicking on it and then holding it and dragging it. And maybe we want more of this, so we just pull that over, and boom, we fill that space up. So notice how there's a little bit of an overlap there. Saved a little more space just because this is located above that window. So if you want to always have the scroll wheel on the side, you want to just line up the window with that. If you want to save a little more space here, you can drag it over that so you still see all the content. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, I'm using a mouse currently, I highly recommend it. And you can scroll, and then if you want to go here, just hover over to that window and boom, you're scrolling. If you haven't been able to do this already, this is a huge boost and lift to the way that you can sort of sort out your search results and organize your tabs. You know, whether it's a Google search, whether it's a software program or social media or any work-related items, this is a very easy way to sort of make it happen fast. And let's say when you're reading it, it's kind of distracting to have both these windows open and you want to change your mind about it. So to go back to normal screen, you just want to click on the square button, boom, it's going to enlarge. It's going to minimize, it's going to enlarge. So you make the decision that you'd rather have these windows in full screen mode so that you can read it better, or you can accomplish whatever task you need to better through the full screen mode. And so when we often think about switching between windows, we try to use this minimize button so we can jump to our next window where we have all of our information. But what that does is when you minimize this, you get to your desktop and you actually lose your place. If you want to jump back to the previous window, minimizing this would not actually work because you've minimized it. So in order to open it up again, you have to go back. And so if you don't already know, you can hover over to the web browser and you can click to that tab and go back to where you just were. Now, that's a really easy solution that we probably should already know. If not, great, now you've learned. But imagine just doing this a lot, right? You're reading all this stuff, and now you gotta go back, you gotta click back, you're like, okay. This might not seem like a big deal to some of you, just because you're used to it, but I challenge you to be better by introducing another key command that will speed this up instantly. So instead of having to minimize, find your information, go back, doing that again, maybe that's 2-3 clicks, right? You might do that 10 times, so it's like 30 clicks you're going to need to do to accomplish something in an hour because you have to switch between windows. Like 30 clicks doesn't seem like a big deal at all, but I want to show an alternative just because it's available, it's easy, it's fast, and it's instant. The two that we're going to be using are the Alt key and the tab. So where do you see the Alt key and where do you see the tab key? The Alt key is located on either end of the spacebar for both Windows and Mac, and the tab key is going to be above the caps lock key. Obviously, it sometimes varies based on your computer model or your keyboard. Now that we know where the Alt and tab key are, you hold the Alt key, this menu is going to appear, and this is basically everything you have open on your computer currently. And obviously, I have some stuff on my own that I have open, so this is also useful outside of just your windows and browsers. You can sort of get an idea for everything you actually are running on your computer instantly. But a key command means clicking on instead of holding. So what we want to do is Alt and just click tab once and click on it again, and we go to our article. So if we want to repeat that process, Alt tab, you can click on Alt tab again, boom. So hold Alt and click tab twice. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So hold Alt and click tab twice. So as you can see, by holding the Alt key and clicking the tab key in quick successions, you can switch between windows really quickly without having to use your mouse. So you might be thinking, what's the point of switching between windows if I can't even switch between these tabs? Because chances are, if you have it in full screen mode, you're going to have multiple tabs open, and you want to be able to screen through these pretty fast. And actually, there is a way to do it. There's a very similar method that allows you to switch between tabs quickly. So now that we've learned the Alt tab, go back to the key that we started with, the Control key. We're going to be using the Control and Tab combination to trigger a switch between tabs on the current window that you're using. So, if let's say you have 8 tabs, this is probably on the lower count of people who have 50 to 100 tabs open where they're sort of tiny like that. Remember, Control T is going to enable those new tabs. Control W is going to close those tabs. If there's anything you're going to get out of this video, that's a big one that I hope to show you. So we're going to use the Control and Tab key. So we want to hold the Control. Generally speaking, you want to hold the keys towards the bottom of your keyboard and use the letter on your keyboard as a secondary click so that the two combined trigger a command, as opposed to starting with a letter and then clicking on one of the keys that are next to the spacebar. So that the Alt, Shift, Control, or Tab key. Hold the Control, click on Tab. And so look what that did. Control Tab, boom. Control Tab, boom. Control Tab, boom. Every time you push Control and Tab at the same time, it's going to switch tabs that you have open. So obviously you can click on this. So if you wanted to scroll through all 8 of these, you'd have to click 8 times, and then a 9th time if you wanted to switch back to where you wanted to go back to. But if we want to sort of try to do this without your mouse, where you're switching tabs and switching between tabs at the same time, we can do that. And obviously this is more than you need to know in terms of navigating across browsers and windows on Google Chrome, but these are very easy key commands that use keys that are actually pretty relevant to generally most software out there, and you'll actually quickly find out the more that you use these keys, the more shortcuts you'll know, generally speaking, for more software programs, more file usage programs, and even just navigational stuff, whether it's email, whether it's software, whether it's research, whether it's a website that you're using. There's a lot of things you can explore in these key commands, and I think most of us have been taught to navigate with a mouse only, and we tend to rely on those old habits. It's not something you usually think about, but transitioning from our reliance on the mouse can really begin to highlight wide variety of other shortcuts, commands, and digital features that will help you go the extra mile with anything related to our Google Chrome browser. The reason why I use the Google Chrome browser is because the features are standard across operating devices, Mac and Windows. It's a free browser and you can link it to your Gmail account. Google generally has a lot of things that will enable you to do a lot more than what you think through all the features they actually have available to you. We're going to do a quick review here. So let's put it all together. Let's create a new tab. Control T. Let's delete that new tab. Control W. Let's add a new window. Control N. Let's delete that. Control W. Let's just say you had a bunch of tabs open. Okay. In a normal browser, you're able to Control Shift T. In Incog, you're not able to do this. So you open some new tabs, you delete them, you accidentally delete it. You're like, oh man, what should I do? How can I get back to that really quick? Control Shift T. We're adding that shift bind, the shift key to our Control T to reverse that process. And again, if you didn't want to use that key command, you can also go to Control H and it'll take you to your history. Boom, your first link that you see is going to be the one that you closed most recently. Alright, so now we want to see these two together. We want to drag it out and make a new window. Click on this tab, hold your left key, drag it down. Now it's in its own window. Now it's full screen window. The way we can minimize this and cut it in half so we have two windows next to each other is we click on it, hold, drag it to the bottom, and as we're holding, we want to tap it against the left side of the screen. Tap it against it. And now what that's going to do is create that silhouette, that rectangular silhouette, and once you get that, that's what it's going to do. You want to click on the other tab you have open. There we go. Now we have both tabs overlaid, and we can scroll through both independently without having to click across. I have the scroll wheel on my mouse. I highly recommend people using their own mouse as opposed to their touchpad, and it'll encourage you to use your left hand for the keyboard as you're navigating with your mouse so that you can do all of this stuff quicker, and so you don't have both hands on the touchpad and the key. See, this is just a recommendation. You can do whatever you want. This is just my way of sort of enhancing the navigational process of Google Chrome for people who need to digest information quicker or feel like they're repeating things over and over and over, feel like that process alone is exhausting. Or if you want to save time. So again, if you want to put in full screen, if you click on the Google Chrome browser, you're going to have all the browsers that you do have open on that. Control W to close those out. This is a rather long video, but hopefully you learned a thing or two and you're able to save some time today by doing so. Here's a quick overview of all the key commands we went over today. Like the video if it was helpful to you, and comment anything you want to see next. My goal is to make another video once I hit 5 likes or 5 comments. Alright, thanks. Peace.